Hey, mama. So, one thing I learned early on in my mompreneur journey is that there is no such thing as balance. The reality is that there will always be something that requires more of you in different seasons of life. And so, in today's episode, I chat with Miara Shaw about work life balance versus work life harmony and why we should be pursuing work life harmony. We also talk about maintaining your wellness as a mom, running a business while being a mom and a wife, all of the things. But one of the things I want to say is that Myra, she is a seasoned mama. And when I tell you the wisdom she imparted in this interview, it is so, so good. Like, you probably will hear like the awe in my voice during this interview because I was just literally eating it all up. Like, it was so, so good and so insightful and it just was so encouraging. And so I know that because I got so much out of this, I know you will too. I recommend you listen to this more than once. Make sure you grab your notebook and pen and just jot down the nuggets that she's sharing because it will help you so much as a mom running a business while being a wife and doing all of the things. All right, let's jump into today's episode. Hey, mama, are you tired of feeling stressed and overwhelmed trying to grow your online business with your babies at home? You desire more flexibility in your day, allowing you to pour into your family, yourself, and your business without running yourself into the ground. Mama, you can build your dream business and do it in a way that fits your current season of life. And I'm going to show you exactly how. Welcome to the Mama Turned Mompreneur podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Singletary, daughter of the king, wife, mama of two, and life and business coach for mompreneurs. On this podcast, you will learn business strategies made for mamas just like you, who desire to be successful CEOs and fully present mamas without stress or overwhelm. So whether you're an entrepreneur who transitioned to a mompreneur or a mama turned mompreneur, I am here to support you. So grab your coffee, notebook, and pen, put in those earbuds, and let's dig in. All right, today on the Mama Turned Mompreneur podcast, I am sitting down to chat with Miara Shaw, and we are going to be talking about the difference between work-life balance and work-life harmony. So Myra, welcome to the show. Please tell us about yourself, who you are, what you do, and all about your family.
Excellent. Thank you for having me. My name is Miara Shaw. You'll see on some of my platforms, mainly Instagram. It is Maven Myra. A maven is simply someone that shares their knowledge with others. And that is what the women that I'm connected to started calling me, because one part of my business is called Maven Business Academy. So they started calling me Maven Myra. I called them Maven Nation. And that is how that part of the brand got created. I was previously one of the nation's few natural gas traders at the last company I worked with was at Chevron. 27-year career, loved that. Now that I look back on it, high stress job, but I really, really enjoyed that. Got laid off at the end of 2014, which led me into the business that I do now full time. Which is really being a business advisor, public speaking coach, predominantly leadership facilitator. That is the part that I truly love the most, is helping and working with leaders. And I started this business before it was a business. I started hosting networking events for women when I was still a corporate professional. I had no idea, nor did I write in my Google Calendar, that I wanted to become a full-time entrepreneur. This is, I got laid off and had already kind of built a community, not really realizing that was what I was doing. I was just hosting, I thought, networking events for women. And from that, was able to pivot and really start out with business coaching and doing those things. And that's where I am today. I'm a wife, a mother of 4 adult children. 2 of them are married, so we've added 2 to the family. No grandchildren. I'm a grand dog parent of 3. And that's where we're hanging out for right now. So happy to be here today and share with you and your audience.
Yeah, I love your story of accidental entrepreneurship, and how you went about building community, not even realizing you were doing that. And I feel like that's probably one area most business owners struggle with is building that community aspect. And look at you, you did it without even realizing it.
Right. I think you touch on something important there. Of it was built out of things that I love to do. I'm a connector. And I
Mhm.
had women on the left that needed a connection, women on the right that were the connection. I just wanted to get them in the room and get them to meet. I did not need to remain in the middle of all of the business, right? I just wanted people to meet. And so I think that building community aspect is in front of all of us. It's really leaning into the thing that you love, whatever that is. You will really build community naturally around that because you're passionate about it, you care about it, you want it done right. And that is one of those lean into the thing you're passionate or things that you're passionate about. And I think you will naturally build community around it.
Yes, I agree. So tell us about your mompreneur journey. Like, how did you get started? I know you shared a little bit, like you had gotten laid off and then you pivoted into your business. But at that point, how was it navigated? I know your kids were older, but tell us a little bit about like your journey and just making that transition into entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So at that time, our children, I think, were two in high school, two in junior high. Um, and I look back on the years of being a corporate professional. Again, I had a very high powered, super busy, stressful at times job of generating millions of dollars as a trader. And I look back on all of our kids were athletes, all of the moving parts, right? Getting off from work to get people picked up to get them where they need to be. And oftentimes not just them, but you got volunteered to drop off friends and all the things that happen with that. Getting food on the table, all of those things. Um, I frequently say to women, that is where the work-life balance harmony kind of starts to come into play because we do have a lot of things on our plate naturally. So many of my friends go, how did you raise four children? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of years I forgot. I just was doing what needed to be done, right? But I think the importance of starting to make some intentional decisions about our lives comes from being in that, we'll call it the rat race, the just waking up, doing all the things that need to be done every day. So for me, it was, my husband and I and our kids applaud us for this today. We were at all of the games and like we didn't miss any of the stuff, but that required some planning, some handoff between my husband and I, who's dropping somebody up, picking up dinner, all of those things. But I applaud any woman who is a full-time corporate professional or full-time mompreneur and raising a family. It is not the easiest, check the box. Okay, yeah, I did that. But I think one of the great things in our current world is moms. We have become more aware that yes, we are a mom, we work, all those things, but that balance and that harmony has to center also around us taking care of ourselves. Because if we are spending all of the juice going out, but never replenishing, that's when we start to see moms and burnout and fatigue and literally system failure, because we have, previously, our grandmothers, our aunts, all of those folks, they seem to just do it flawlessly, right? They just did it. And I think we kind of grew up with this notion of the fallacy that we can be super women. And it is not, that is unreal. It is just not. And really, I think starting to pay attention to ourselves. What are the voices inside of us, the intuition, that gut saying you're actually doing too much, not enough. You're doing too much, ma'am. And us having the confidence to listen to our gut and go, okay, where do I need to ask for help? Where do I need to just take this thing off the plate? Where do I need to set some hard boundaries, right? What are those things? Because our bodies are always telling us. The sound, the alarms are always there. Is, are we going to pay enough attention to it. And that doesn't mean we can't be a great mom. We can be a great mom with great boundaries, with great rest, with self care. We can still be great moms without burning the whole thing down, thinking that we have to try to be super women.
That is so good. And I resonate with that so much. And you probably can relate to this too, that amongst the Black community, Black women, we have
Yeah.
that, the strong, independent Black woman. I mean, I was
Mm-hmm.
raised by a single mother. She was working 2, 3 jobs at a time,
Yeah.
caring for me, showing up to all of the things and whatnot. But what you said is so important, asking for help. I had to learn that, after I got married and once we started having kids, it was like, hold up. Like, I can't do it all. I need to slow
Right.
down. And so
Yeah.
learning how to actually ask my husband for help and to step in and do different things and whatnot. And it could be challenging, especially again, like how I was raised. I saw my mom do it
Yeah.
all and she did it on her
Yeah.
own. She didn't really have family support and different things.
Yeah.
And so really having that mindset shift and being okay with like, it's okay to ask for help. It's not a sign of
Right.
weakness or anything like that. So
Let me speak into these women that are hearing us talk about this and going, well, my husband should just know. Sis, he doesn't. He
it
doesn't.
does.
I don't I don't know how else to say it. He doesn't know. And the things that we as women, right? We are the spirit of our homes. When we see things that need to be done, listen, a man is like everybody's safe, everything's, probably paid for. They're like, we're good. They're not seeing the loads of laundry, the stack of dishes. Their brains, you're like, well, they have eyes, but they're not even really almost created in a way to see that. We have to be able to say to a person that loves us and wants us to also be at our best, babe, here's where I'm feeling overwhelmed. Here's what I need you to do. Ladies, say it with clarity. If you
Mhm.
just say, well, I need you to help, they still don't know. They do not know. They don't know. I just want to say the moms some frustration. They don't know. Speak with clarity on what you need. If it's your spouse or your partner to do the laundry 2 days a week, or they do the grocery, whatever it is, speak plainly about what you need assistance with, or if that assistance is going to have to come outside of your home because maybe your spouse is just as busy. Then, babe, I think we need to put in our budget to be able to hire X, Y, and Z so that we both can be more present, right? Whatever that looks like. But I encourage the mompreneurs to speak plainly about what your request is in love. Listen, don't make the request when you're hot on your heels, when you're mad, because all don't ask right then. That's not a good time. But really give it some thought. And if you need to write it out, think through it, do that. But ask with clarity what you need for your family unit to function better so that everyone is thriving and not just they are thriving and you're barely surviving. That's not what we want. So speak plainly about the request that you have.
Yes, to all of us. It is so true.
I have some experience. My husband and I will be married coming up on 23 years. Again, all of our children are now adults living on their own. So, the experience of being frustrated and not my husband wanted to help. He thought it was helping, right? If I don't
Yeah.
say, okay, that was great that you said for the kids to do XYZ, but what I really need help on is this thing over here, then it's the disconnect. He think he's being super helpful and you're still melting on the inside because you're so mad you don't feel like you have any help, right? And to this day, my husband still is the one that takes care of all of the laundry for he and I hate the laundry. He doesn't want to do anything in the kitchen. So I'm the kitchen person, right? That is the balance, the harmony we get to have that helps he and I both get supported and our house still runs, well for both of us. So it was making the ask again in love. Don't ask when you hottest fish grease. Don't do it. It's not going to work out well.
Yeah.
It's not going to work out. But again, it's a partnership, and your partner, your spouse, wants to help make the home harmonious. That is, everybody wants that.
Yes, yes. So you touched on a little bit about like this work-life harmony, but talk about us in relation to work-life balance, because I know you are more of a firm believer in striving for work-life harmony. So what would you
Yeah.
say is the difference between the two?
So the word balance, I think people have this perception that that means you're going to get to a particular spot and then it's all going to be balanced out and it's going to stay that way. Like, I don't think people intentionally think that, but they feel like, okay, if I do these things that Maeve and Myra is suggesting, when I get to that list completed, we're safe. Everything's going to be good. So that's the balance. People's perception is there's a spot I'm trying to get to, and that's unattainable. Because life is always in motion. We're in motion. The harmony really leans toward what works for you. What works for me as an empty nester with my husband with no children at home is not going to work for a mom who has a husband and two toddlers at home. So that harmony has to be found by that woman, right? And I think that is the power, that we each have the power to find, to seek out, to uncover, because it is some work. It doesn't magically happen. Like, you're going to click your heels 3 times and your harmony appears. You've got to do some work. There's going to be some trial and error. There's going to be some boundary set, and you realize that line has to be moved a little bit. Maybe you set it too hard, right? Maybe there needs to be a little bit of flexibility to move it out a few inches. So that harmony, I think, gives us power to define what it means for us as individuals. What does it mean for me, for my family, for my household, versus I've got to do these steps to get to balance and then everything's okay. Because that's just not it. Today is, a Monday. A Monday's not going to look like Tuesday. Tuesday's not going to look like Wednesday. Harmony, I think, is truly created with boundaries. Because if my boundary is this wide, I have the ability to flex and work within those boundaries to keep the harmony that I need, versus saying, this is the balance, it's here, and I've just got to stay on these 2 lines. It's not attainable. I think that in itself causes us more stress, right? Balance, harmony, those are supposed to be pleasant things. But when we're stressed about just trying to get more rest, more restorative behavior in our lives, when we're so stressed about it, that doesn't seem, and that's why I think people abandon it. People will say, oh, that's that people, women are saying that that's not attainable. I will say this. If you don't believe it's attainable for you, then sis, it is not. It's not. But if you are willing to do the work to create what harmony is for you, and again, how do you create that? You've got to be able to sit with yourself in the quiet times and say, what do I really want for me? And what do I want for my family? No one else can do that work for you. And that's why I think it's easier for people to say, oh, that whole lifestyle thing of balance and harmony and all these things, it's just not attainable, because they don't want to do the work. No, it's not something you can just read in a book, plug and play. You've got to be intentional to know what works for you, because again, what works for me might not work for you, but you have the power to create the harmony in your life. I even use the term more work-life integration, because our work, whether you're a corporate professional or an entrepreneur, that is so integrated into what life is for each of us that, I mean, I haven't done it or known anyone to really separate those two and say, work is only work and my personal family life is only my personal family life. That's not super realistic. So that work-life integration, how do we integrate those two, yet still have that harmony where we can have joy, where we can have rest, where we can refill our cups when we need to. And that even with the rest that I'm talking about, that we're not resting when we're exhausted, that rest is a normal part of our journey, that we are not the strong Black woman. Let's let that go. It says, let it go. We don't have to be those people because it is literally that concept, that idea is literally killing Black women because our stress levels, cortisone levels, heart disease, blood pressure is the highest among a lot of groups because we're carrying these weights and these stresses that we need to have the whole world on our shoulder because we have to be the strong Black woman. And I'm reminding you that you do not have to carry that weight. You have the power to create the harmony that you and your family deserve and need.
That was so good. I really love what you said about the boundaries. And when you set those boundaries, it allows you to have that flexibility to kind of move about and everything. And
Mhm.
it's so needed, especially when you're running a business as a mom. And like for me and most of my listeners, we have little ones at home. So
Uh-huh.
kids get sick, somebody's teething, something is going
Right.
on. And so being able to have that flexibility, like you have those set boundaries, but you have that wiggle room and able to pivot and shift when you need
Yeah.
to without adding on stress and everything is so
Right.
important. So I absolutely love that, what you shared about that.
Let me share two strategies around these boundaries because I know some women here.
I was just gonna ask that question next about tips and strategies. So go, you're moving us along perfectly.
Yeah. Here's the first thing I want to say to women. Be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. You are an amazing mom. You're running a business. You're doing a lot of things that require a lot. Being a mom is not, a soft toss. Like there's work that comes with that. And here, let's talk about these boundaries because I know sometimes women that have, a leadership style of more heart centered. That's what I call those folks that, or I call them the koala, the heart centered folks. They have a hard time with boundaries because boundaries can upset people. Okay. But here's what I want you to remember about a boundary. A boundary is not for someone else. Your boundary is for you. It's to keep you safe and keep you well and keep you rested and keep you mentally on track. Those boundaries are for you. And when we set a boundary, understand that all or any of the people that have been living their lives overstepping your unspoken boundary, absolutely, of course, they're going to be upset. We should not be surprised by that. They're going to be upset because now they're going to have to be accountable for their own stuff and you're accountable for yours. Okay. You're not letting everybody run over your boundary line to dump it on you, give it to you, you do it. No, this is my line and you're going to have to handle that yourself. So I want those heart centered moms to know the world is going to be fine when you set up your boundary and stick to it. Of course, somebody might be upset and they might say something they shouldn't, and they might want to ignore you. And listen, they're going to be all right. And so are you. I tell when I facilitate leadership development with high school students, I tell this to the girls at that age: be okay to kick up a little dust in the world. It's going to settle and everyone's going to be fine. So when we're working to set up boundaries for a lot of women, that first tendency is, I can't do that. Like this person's going to be upset or this person's going to be mad. They're going to be okay. I'm not saying they're not going to be upset at first. They will, and they will be okay. But you have to set up boundaries for your safety, for what you need. And that safety, I'm talking about your rest, your mental health, your physical health. All of those things are for you. Boundaries are for you. They're not for the other people. So if they're for you, no one else has the power or the right to tell you, you don't need that boundary. You should lower that boundary. You should remove that boundary. That's not up to someone else to be able to tell you. Your boundaries are for you. And again, it's going to be a little uncomfortable at first, but keep going. Keep sticking to it. Keep doing what you need to do for you and your family. And that person that was so upset will find someone else to go dump on. They will go do whatever they need to do. and you and your harmony, your family, your rest, your joy, your peace is going to be intact, even while they run and dump on someone else. They're going to be fine.
So good. So many good tips. So I know one of the things you talk about too is, with work-life harmony, maintaining your wellness as a mom. And so do you have any other tips for like staying mentally and emotionally resilient, as we're managing these businesses and our homes?
Yeah, one of the most important things that I like to talk about is establishing a morning routine. Now, your morning routine, again, this is unique to you. What does that need to look like? When I ask women that, they're like, I don't know. That's because you haven't sat to figure it out. So I'm going to encourage you. The first thing, take some time to figure it out. I will tell you about my journey on creating a morning routine. I started with 30 seconds. That's as long as I could sit still and not have my brain going, oh my God, you got to send 4 emails and you got to fix this thing and you got to send the thing and all the stuff our brain is telling us that we have to do in the next 5 minutes, right? 30 seconds is where I started. And I progressed to 60 seconds and just kept going, right? And what I attempt to do in that morning routine is really just sit and be grateful. I'm a person that does pray. I'm a believer. So I try to, during that time, also pray. And I try to be intentional, not to be praying and asking God, Lord, bless me with the and I need the, but really showing gratitude for all of the things that God has already done and the things I want to see him bless other people with, right? That is what I try to focus on in that time. So a gratitude time. I also do some stretching during that time. I'm a person that loves 1 cup of coffee a day. I want it in the morning. I want it to be right. All of the things. So I do start with a cup of water. My health and wellness coach said, girl, start with water. Don't start with coffee. Okay, that's fine. So a cup of water. I have my coffee. I do my stretching, and then I do my quiet time. I have made that such a routine that if for whatever reason I make a mistake and wake up and a text message has come through and I'm like, I'm going to return this 1 text message and 5 text messages later and 3 Instagram replies, I am full on rolling for the day. My body reminds me, slow down, ma'am. You skipped a whole morning thing. And it doesn't matter that day that I got past it that morning. When I get reminded about it, I stop and I do it then. Because I find that if I can start my morning with that gentleness towards myself, then I don't feel like I'm on this rat race all day. Like I gotta go, go, go. Because now when I start in tune with myself in the morning and in tune with through prayer, when I feel myself like, oh my God, you gotta do. Something in me goes, hold on. Where are we running off to? What's the fire? Like we can naturally get to that speed if we're not catching it. So when I'm like, oh, you know what? You're right. Whew, let me slow down, take a couple of breaths and know that everything that I really, really need to get done today, I have the power to get it done. If I don't need to get it done today and I don't get to it, there is tomorrow. So taking that pressure off myself that I've got to be perfect today and do all of these things, because an entrepreneur, like the list never ends. There's
Yeah.
always something to get done. So that morning routine, I feel by far has helped me set my intentions for the day and to move at a pace where I'm not in desperate mode, right? This is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm purposed to do. And I'm going to do it with excellence today. That's where I'm going to set my intentions for the day. The other big thing that has helped me in my business and just really handling a day and keeping this harmony in my life is getting help where I need to get it in my business, right? We talked about that help inside the home, but what about in your business? And I know I hear someone say, Myra, I can't afford to get any help. Here's what I want you to think about. If you are a person that offers consultations, paid consultations, let's say you offer a paid consultation at $250 for an hour. If you are spending that hour sending emails, bunch of emails, or following up on social media, whatever the thing is, you spent $250 for that hour. That's an hour you were not generating income because you were doing a consult or whatever it was. So think about it in that way. What are the non-revenue generating items or tasks that you do in your business, especially the ones that you do repetitively? Every week you got to do this thing, or every month you have to do this thing. Identify what those non-revenue generating, and when I say non-revenue generating, they're indirect, right? If you're sending emails, that could eventually lead to someone becoming a client. But I'm talking about direct revenue. Okay. Look at those items and see if you can get some of those, at least a few of those. Maybe it's 10 hours a month you start with getting some help. A month, 10 hours a month. That's a couple hours a week, right? A little more than 2.5 hours a week. See where you can start. Maybe you can't afford to give it all away to a virtual assistant or a social media manager, whatever it is, but have the list, create the list, and start with where you can start. I can hire someone to help me with 2 hours a week, whatever that looks like, to get some of these things that do need to be done, but they might not need to be done by you. Getting those off of your plate. That is between the morning routine and just getting some of the non-revenue generating things off of my plate is what helped me not only create, but maintain some harmony in my life, but also start to generate more revenue in my business because I was focused on revenue generating tasks, right? When women say, oh, I haven't been able to generate revenue to profit, right? First thing I'm going to ask, what are you spending your time on? Oh, well, I got to make these social media posts and send emails. Well, okay. If that's not, now, if you're making money off your social media, okay. But if you're not, what are the things that you can get off your plate that's taking up your time and you can reallocate that time to revenue generating tasks? And if you don't have a list of revenue generating tasks, put that on the top of your list. As soon as you finish listening to this podcast, put that on the top of your list because we should know how we are going to make money in our business. Even if it hasn't generated money yet, the revenue generating services or things that you're creating. Be clear about those and how you're going to get those to generate revenue.
Oh, so good. I love both of those tips, especially the morning routine. That's something I do. I gotta get up before my kids, start the day with the Lord and prayer,
Yeah.
reading my word and everything. Because if not, the day is just a hot mess. So
It's like you jump
definitely.
into a rat race and it just keeps getting
Yes.
faster and faster and faster. You get to
Yeah.
the end of the day and you're like exhausted. And you're like, what did I do today?
Yep.
You don't know. You just been doing
Yeah.
stuff.
Exactly. So, next year you're hosting a leadership wellness circle. So, talk to us about that. What is it? Who is it for? And why should we attend?
Yeah. So, my podcast, which had been called Success with Saneness, is actually the name. We actually just changed it very recently. Um, it's going to be called Leadership Wellness Circle. And I changed the name because I'm also going to be hosting this Leadership Wellness Summit and then this actual circle, which is geared toward leaders. And that could be a mompreneur, corporate professional, a nonprofit founder. How do we lead these businesses or homes, whatever we're doing, with wellness in mind? Again, the numbers are staggering on how stress, a lack of sleep affects our body. It it is way more harmful than we could have ever imagined, right? And this notion of being super women of, I'll sleep when I'm dead. No, no, no. I want you to sleep now, right? All of those things. And again, through me doing my own work with creating this balance and this harmony, have led me to the belief that we can create the things we were purposed to do with the abundant life, which includes wellness. Because I don't think we were created to live out our purpose, our assignment, and we are always exhausted, always feeling burnout, always just frazzled, trying to live out a purpose that's supposed to bring you joy, right? Not every moment is going to be joyful, but it's supposed to overall bring you joy. And this leadership wellness circle, when we launch it at the top of 2025, is really going to be a space. It'll be virtual. The in-person event will be the annual summit, wellness summit we'll do, but it really would be a community connecting leaders on how do we continue to lead well and live well. That essentially is what it boils down to lead well and to live well, so that even those of us, those of you with young kids, your daughters, your sons can see, oh, my mom, yeah, she's an entrepreneur and she's joyful and she's not exhausted and always yelling at us because she's just at her wit's end. We want to build businesses and foundations and nonprofits and all these things that even our children can see. Yeah, my mom does work hard, but I see the joy she has. I see that she gets us to bed on time, but she also gets to bed on time and that she's rested. All of those things, I think we have the power to start creating a new narrative for our children's generation, that they're not living this strong Black woman or strong Black man era, that we will bring that to an end because we're teaching, showing how we can lead well and live well. So when I tell you, I am so passionate about bringing this to life because working with predominantly Black women is who I've been working with. We have genius ideas. We are also extremely burned out. We're also extremely exhausted. And I want us to see and be taught if necessary, because everyone hadn't even seen it, right? That there is another way that it can be done. And you're going to continue to grow your business and you're going to continue to generate more profits, the things that you're going to focus on and do well. But you don't have to abandon your life. You don't have to burn down your marriage. You don't have to burn down your family just to try to generate the things that you want when you consider your business to be successful. We can do it a better way. I truly want us to understand that we can lead well and live well.
I love that. That is so good and so needed. So as we wrap up, please let listeners know where they can connect with you and learn more about working with you.
Yeah, so Miara Shaw, Miara, Shaw.com is my website, and you will find all of the things about me there. On LinkedIn, I'm very active, Miara Shaw. Instagram, it's Maven Miara, very active there as well. So those are the places you can predominantly connect with me. If you go to my speaker page or contact page on my website, you can send me a message or an email there, or you can send me messages on Instagram or LinkedIn as well if you want to connect or ask any questions. We'll definitely be able to reach back out to you in any of those places. Oh, and my podcast,
Yes,
Leadership
your
Wellness
podcast.
Circle. Yeah. So our new season will launch at the top of 2025 for season 3 that I'm looking forward to. And again, there we will be focused on leadership confidence, wellness, work-life integration, and business growth are the 4 areas that we'll be focusing on for the podcast.
That's awesome. I will make sure to link all of that in the show notes. Well, thank you again for just sharing your wisdom with us and just giving so much value. I know I got a lot out of it, and I know my listeners will too.
Excellent. It's been my pleasure, and thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Well, Mama, that's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to hang with me. If you enjoyed today's episode, will you do me a favor and follow the podcast and leave a review? Hitting that follow button and sharing your thoughts about the podcast are the best ways to ensure that other mamas like you find this show. Your review also lets me know if you're enjoying this podcast, so make sure to share your thoughts before you go. All right, Mama, I'll catch you in the next episode.